What in the world just happened in Washington, D.C.? For the first time in modern U.S. history, a bipartisan group of lawmakers, including Republicans who have long defended Donald Trump, are now demanding his immediate resignation. Why? A leaked classified memo appears to show Trump interfered with active military operations, not for national security, but allegedly for personal political gain. And the fallout, it's sending shockwaves through the Capitol like we haven't seen since the days of Watergate. Generals pressured to endorse a president in exchange for mission approval. That's what the documents claim. Members of Congress were so alarmed by what they saw, they called an emergency meeting and dropped a political nuclear bomb, a public resignation demand. And now Trump is absolutely furious, lashing out, naming names, and promising revenge. The nation is watching, but is this just the beginning? In this video, we're breaking down the 10 shocking reasons behind this political earthquake and why what happens next could rewrite the rules of presidential power forever. It all started with a single document, a classified memo that found its way into the hands of multiple congressional committees. What's inside that memo is what turned a tense political climate into full-blown chaos. According to reports from Politico, CNN, and CBS, the memo reveals that Donald Trump allegedly ordered delays in 3 separate military operations, all while critical national security missions were underway. But here's the twist. The delays weren't for strategic reasons. They were, according to the memo, because the generals involved had not publicly endorsed Trump's campaign. This isn't speculation. Multiple members of the House Armed Services and Foreign Affairs Committees have confirmed under anonymity that the contents of the memo are damning, unprecedented, and deeply disturbing. These aren't partisan statements. These are comments from lawmakers on both sides of the aisle who have seen the memo inside a secure facility away from media spin or political theater. What makes this document so explosive is the implication that Trump used his constitutional authority as commander-in-chief not to protect the country, but to leverage it for political loyalty. Think about it. Military authorizations, potentially delayed or denied, not based on battlefield conditions, but based on whether a general would show up at a campaign rally. That's not just unethical. According to multiple legal scholars, it could represent a clear abuse of power and even violate federal law restricting the use of government resources for political purposes. In the world of politics, leaks happen all the time. But this one, it's a time bomb. It was the spark that lit the fuse onto this entire controversy, and for 47 members of Congress to risk their political careers and publicly demand a resignation. It all started here with this one explosive memo. If you found this video eye-opening, let us know your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one. We put a lot of work into bringing you the truth behind the headlines. So if you value content like this, please subscribe. It's just one click, but it means the world to us. When it comes to presidential power, there's one boundary that's never meant to be crossed: risking American lives for personal gain. But according to legal and military experts who've reviewed the leaked memo, that's exactly what Donald Trump is being accused of. The operations allegedly delayed were routine training missions or low-priority deployments. They were time-sensitive intelligence and defense operations in active hostile zones involving American troops already on the ground. The memo reportedly details how Trump personally instructed his chief of staff to halt authorization of these missions until specific high-ranking generals agreed to appear at his campaign rallies and publicly endorse his leadership. The delay, even if just for hours or days, could have meant the difference between life and death for troops depending on intelligence, backup, or timely extraction. And that's not speculation. Former Pentagon officials have said publicly that operational delays like this can cost lives. This isn't just a scandal, it's a direct national security threat. Civilian control of the military is a sacred principle in American democracy, but it comes with the expectation that decisions will be made in the nation's best interest, not for personal political advantage. If even a fraction of these allegations are true, it means a sitting president knowingly allowed troops to remain in harm's way in order to gain public support from the military elite. And here's why this matters so much. National security isn't supposed to be negotiable. It's not a bargaining chip. It's the core of a president's responsibility. Every soldier, every military family, every intelligence officer trusts that their lives won't be used as political leverage. This memo shatters that trust, and it's why members of both parties are now calling this a defining moment for American democracy. At the heart of this entire firestorm is a simple but devastating accusation. Donald Trump prioritized personal political loyalty over his duty to the country. According to the memo reviewed by congressional leaders, Trump allegedly withheld military authorizations until certain generals agreed to publicly support his re-election campaign. Let that sink in. Decisions about military readiness were reportedly held hostage until there was a promise of political allegiance. This isn't about policy disagreements or even controversial decisions. This is about using the military as a campaign tool. And the line between governance and campaigning is not just a norm. It's a legal boundary. Federal law, including the Hatch Act and other ethics rules, prohibits the use of government resources, especially military assets. For political purposes, Trump's alleged actions go far beyond bending the rules. If proven true, it's a case of exploiting the power of the presidency for personal political benefit, something scholars warn could permanently damage the fabric of civilian-military relations in the U.S. Multiple legal experts, including former prosecutors and constitutional scholars, have described this situation as a fundamental betrayal of the commander-in-chief role. When a president ties operational decisions to endorsement deals, it erodes the apolitical foundation of the military and sends a chilling message. Your career, your mission, your safety depend on political loyalty, not merit, not duty, not national interest. This is why even longtime Republican allies are backing away, because this isn't about left versus right. It's about right versus wrong. If military operations can be delayed to extract campaign support, and then the very integrity of the presidency is in question. And once that trust is broken between the military and the president, between the people and their leader, it's nearly impossible to rebuild. In today's hyper-polarized political climate, it's rare to see Republicans and Democrats agree on anything, let alone unite against a sitting president from their own government. But that's exactly what happened when 47 members of Congress, including 16 Republicans, signed a formal public letter demanding Donald Trump's immediate resignation. This isn't just symbolic, it's a political earthquake. This bipartisan group wasn't made up of fringe voices or backbenchers. It included senior committee members, military veterans, and longtime Trump supporters who've stood by him through previous scandals. According to inside sources, the tipping point came after a 3-hour emergency closed-door meeting on December 27th, where the leaked classified memo was reviewed in a secure facility. The contents, lawmakers said, were so explosive and clear-cut that silence was no longer an option. Staying quiet meant complicity. And that's what makes this moment historic. This isn't a partisan witch hunt or political theater. This is a group of elected officials from both sides of the aisle, stating clearly and publicly that the president has violated his oath of office, and the letter, which was made public on December 28th, accuses Trump of endangering national security, undermining military readiness, and placing personal ambition above constitutional duty. For many Republicans, this decision carried enormous political risk. Breaking with Trump still means alienating a powerful voter base and inviting primary challenges. But they did it anyway, because, in their words, the evidence was incontrovertible. That kind of bipartisan revolt doesn't happen without serious cause, and it signals something bigger, the beginning of a political shift. When nearly 50 lawmakers, including allies, say the president should resign, it's not just a scandal, it's a crisis of leadership, and the consequences could reshape American politics for years to come. Perhaps the most jaw-dropping moment in this entire saga came when Republican Congressman Michael McCaul, chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee and a longtime Trump ally, stood on the House floor and read the resignation letter aloud. His voice reportedly shook with emotion as He addressed the chamber, breaking ranks in a way that stunned both parties. This wasn't just another speech, it was a political turning point. McCaul has defended Trump through previous controversies, including both impeachments and multiple investigations. But this time was different. According to those present, McCaul said that as a military veteran, he could not in good conscience remain silent after seeing evidence that suggested the president put American troops in danger for political theater. His exact words, according to multiple reporters, were, "His public break from Trump sent shockwaves through the Republican Party for years. Many GOP leaders have carefully walked the line, criticizing Trump in private while defending him in public." But McCaul's speech marked a rare moment of moral clarity. It also gave other Republicans the political cover they needed to follow suit. When a high-profile committee chairman takes a stand, it signals that the risk of staying silent may finally outweigh the cost of speaking out. And let's not underestimate the power of that moment. It wasn't delivered through press releases or vague statements. It happened on the House floor in full public view, with McCaul's words entered into the official congressional record. It wasn't just a speech, it was a historic declaration that this scandal had crossed the line. And for many, it changed everything. If you found this video eye-opening, let us know your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one. We put a lot of work into bringing you the truth behind the headlines. So if you value content like this, please subscribe. It's just one click, but it means the world to us. What we're witnessing right now isn't just a political scandal. It's the unfolding of a constitutional crisis creeping forward like a storm on the horizon. Legal scholars across the spectrum are calling this situation one of the most serious challenges to presidential accountability in modern U.S. history. The central question is chilling. Can a president use their powers as commander-in-chief to benefit their own campaign, even if it means putting national security at risk? The Constitution gives the president broad authority over the military, but that power comes with an expectation. It must be exercised in the national interest, not for personal political gain. If the allegations in the leaked memo are true, that Trump delayed military operations until certain generals agreed to campaign with him, it represents a direct violation of that principle. It's not just unethical. Experts say it could be unconstitutional and possibly criminal. Former Justice Department officials have weighed in, saying this isn't just bad behavior, it's behavior that tests the limits of the law. Harvard Law professor Jack Goldsmith called it a violation of the foundational trust placed in a president. Federal prosecutor Andrew Weissman went further, suggesting Trump's actions could fall under statutes that prohibit using government resources for campaign purposes, a federal crime if proven. The most alarming part, there's currently no clear mechanism for dealing with this kind of abuse unless Congress acts. That's what makes this a slow-motion constitutional crisis. The power of the presidency is immense, but if it's left unchecked, especially when tied to active military decisions, it could permanently shift the balance between civilian oversight and executive power. This isn't just about Trump. It's about whether the system itself can hold when a president pushes its limits. And right now, that system is being tested like never before. Behind closed doors, the Republican Party is in complete disarray as this scandal explodes into public view. What was once a tightly unified front behind Donald Trump is now splintering at the seams. According to multiple reports, senior GOP leaders have been holding emergency conference calls, scrambling to figure out how to respond to the growing backlash from within their own ranks, the dilemma choosing between loyalty to Trump and loyalty to the Constitution. And there's no easy way out. Some Republican lawmakers want to dig in, attack the leak, and discredit the sources, hoping to rally Trump's base by framing it as another deep state conspiracy. Others, however, are deeply shaken by the memo's contents and recognize the danger of defending the indefensible. They're worried not just about the legal fallout, but the political cost of ignoring what now appears to be a national security crisis. What makes this fracture so significant is that it's no longer confined to private conversations. High-ranking Republicans are now breaking ranks publicly, lending credibility to the claims and encouraging others to follow suit. For a party that has spent years walking the tightrope of Trump loyalty, this moment feels like a turning point, a reckoning that's been building under the surface. And the timing couldn't be worse. With election season on the horizon, Republican candidates are now being forced to choose sides. Do they stand by Trump and risk being tied to allegations of military manipulation? Or do they denounce him and risk losing support from his still powerful voter base? Either choice comes with consequences. And as this internal war plays out in real time, it's clear that this isn't just a scandal affecting one man. It's a crisis that could reshape the Republican Party itself. Behind closed doors, the Republican Party is in complete disarray as this scandal explodes into public view. What was once a tightly unified front behind Donald Trump is now splintering at the seams. According to multiple reports, senior GOP leaders have been holding emergency conference calls, scrambling to figure out how to respond to the growing backlash from within their own ranks, the dilemma choosing between loyalty to Trump and loyalty to the Constitution. And there's no easy way out. Some Republican lawmakers want to dig in, attack the leak, and discredit the sources, hoping to rally Trump's base by framing it as another deep state conspiracy. Others, however, are deeply shaken by the memo's contents and recognize the danger of defending the indefensible. They're worried not just about the legal fallout, but the political cost of ignoring what now appears to be a national security crisis. What makes this fracture so significant is that it's no longer confined to private conversations. High-ranking Republicans are now breaking ranks publicly, lending credibility to the claims and encouraging others to follow suit. For a party that has spent years walking the tightrope of Trump loyalty, this moment feels like a turning point, a reckoning that's been building under the surface. And the timing couldn't be worse. With election season on the horizon, Republican candidates are now being forced to choose sides. Do they stand by Trump and risk being tied to allegations of military manipulation? Or do they denounce him and risk losing support from his still powerful voter base? Either choice comes with consequences. And as this internal war plays out in real time, it's clear that this isn't just a scandal affecting one man. It's a crisis that could reshape the Republican Party itself. As the resignation demands poured in and headlines erupted, Donald Trump did exactly what he's known for. He fought back hard and loud. Within hours of the letter's release, Trump took to Truth Social, unleashing a series of furious posts that denied the allegations, attacked the leakers, and named the Republicans who turned against him. He labeled the memo a fabrication by the deep state, called the resignation demand a hoax, and accused the 47 lawmakers, including members of his own party, of being traitors and cowards. His tone was more than defensive. It was combative and personal. He warned those Republicans who sided against him that they would pay a political price and hinted at revenge campaigns during the upcoming primaries. It wasn't just about clearing his name. It was a message to his base, loyalty above all else. But here's the thing. Political analysts and legal experts quickly pointed out a glaring contradiction. If the memo was truly fake and the claims completely baseless, why react with such fury? Why go on the offensive against his own party instead of simply refuting the facts with evidence? This overreaction, many argue, only adds weight to the seriousness of the allegations. Trump's aggressive response has now deepened the divide within the GOP. Some of his allies are urging restraint, while others are doubling down and echoing his attacks. Meanwhile, moderate Republicans are growing increasingly uneasy, realizing that defending Trump may now come at the cost of their own credibility and possibly their careers. Trump's reaction didn't calm the storm. It supercharged it. Instead of silencing the controversy, his rage-fueled denials have turned it into a full-blown political firestorm with no signs of cooling off anytime soon. At its core, the scandal isn't just about one controversial memo or one angry president. It's about the very integrity of the presidency and whether the office can be trusted to serve the people, not personal ambition. If the allegations are true, Donald Trump didn't just bend the rules. He broke a sacred boundary by turning military decision-making into a tool for political gain. And that, according to legal scholars, could mark one of the most serious abuses of power in modern American history. Using military operations, which involve life and death decisions, as a bargaining chip for campaign endorsements crosses every ethical and constitutional line. The role of commander-in-chief is designed to protect national security, not to be used as leverage in exchange for applause at rallies. This undermines the entire foundation of civilian control over the military, one of the pillars that separates American democracy from authoritarian regimes. If such an abuse is allowed to stand without consequences, it sets a terrifying precedent. Future presidents could feel empowered to manipulate military operations for their own benefit, knowing that party loyalty might protect them from accountability. It raises a dangerous question: is the presidency above the law? That's why this moment matters so much. It's not just about politics, or even Trump himself. It's about whether we allow the most powerful office in the country to operate without limits, oversight, or consequences. And if we do, what kind of democracy are we left with? The calls for resignation, the bipartisan revolt, and the public outrage aren't just reactions to one memo. They are a collective response to a crisis of leadership and a demand that the presidency be held to the highest standard, not the lowest. Because if we don't draw the line here, there may be no line left to draw at all.